I cancelled my royal meeting. This is urgent. You think I can sit on that golden chair and pretend nothing is wrong when your silence is burning holes in my mind? I couldn't. I couldn't listen to another speech about treaties, lands, and titles, while the thought of you was tearing through every ounce of composure I've ever been trained to fake. The council waited for me. The general stood in line. My father's advisors murmured their disapproval, but I walked away. I left them mid-sentence, because nothing they could say would matter more than what I need to hear from you right now. You've become the only thing that can shake my kingdom's order. You, without crown, without lineage, have made me question everything I've been taught to protect. Do you know what they said when I left the hall? That love has made me weak, that I'm losing the discipline of a ruler. Maybe they're right, because the moment I think of you, I stop being a prince. I stop being royal, bound by laws and expectations. I become something human, too human for their comfort. The kind of man who would trade a throne for one honest answer from you. My mother warned me that this would happen. She said love makes kings crawl, and I laughed at her once. But now I see the truth in her eyes whenever she looks at me. Fear. Fear that her son will destroy an empire over a woman who doesn't belong to their world. And maybe I will, because this ache doesn't understand bloodlines or rules. You've already invaded the walls of my reason. You've become my rebellion, my weakness, my prayer, my curse. Every time I try to push you out of my mind, you return stronger, like a storm the palace can't contain. They talk about the throne as if it's made of iron, unshakable, but it's fragile compared to what I feel for you. My decisions tremble around your name. My world bends when I imagine your voice. And I hate that you have this power over me, yet I crave it all the same. I canceled the meeting because they talk about future wars, and all I can think about is the war you've already started inside me. You don't even have to be here. Your absence commands me louder than any order I've ever obeyed. The ministers asked me for a reason. I gave them none. How could I explain that my reason wears your face? How could I tell them that the prince they raised to conquer lands now kneels before a feeling he can't control? You're the only thing that has ever made me disobey the word, and still it feels right. They'll question me for this. I know. My father will call it dishonor. My brother will smirk waiting for my fall, but I don't care. Not tonight. Tonight, there's only one truth that matters. I needed to hear you, to see you, to know that whatever this chaos is, it wasn't just mine. If loving you means losing everything they've built around me, then let it all fall. Let the palace burn, let the crown melt. I'll rebuild my kingdom in the space between your heartbeat and my name. Because right now, nothing in this world feels more urgent than you. The corridors of the palace still echoed with the murmurs of my defiance as I walked out. Guards looked away, servants froze mid-step. None dared to speak. They had never seen me like this before, abandoning duty for desire, walking away from tradition as though it were ash. I could feel their judgment crawling up my back, but I didn't slow down. Every step toward you felt heavier and yet necessary, as if my heart had taken command and my crown was no longer in control. Outside, the air was sharp, the sky bruised with clouds. The world looked the way I felt, restless, dark, on the edge of breaking. By the time I reached my horse, my mind was chaos. My advisors called after me from the balcony, their voices distant, pleading, angry, but they sounded like ghosts. I didn't turn. I gripped the reins and rode through the gates like a man possessed. The gods tried to stop me, asked for orders. I gave none. I was past orders, past loyalty. I was chasing something no kingdom could understand. The cold wind bit into my face. but it couldn't numb what was burning inside me. For the first time, I wasn't riding toward war or glory. I was riding toward truth, the kind that could ruin me completely. When I reached the edge of the woods, I slowed, listening to the sound of my own heart fighting to stay steady. Every rustle of leaves reminded me of your voice. Every breath of wind carried the scent of your memory. I wondered if you knew what I had done, if you felt the storm I had unleashed for you. I wondered if you'd be angry, or if, somewhere deep down, you'd understand that I could no longer pretend to care about anything else. The crown felt meaningless. The power, the respect, the heritage, all of it faded beneath the weight of one thought, you. The night deepened, and I could see the lights of your cottage in the distance. My hands trembled around the reins. For a prince, fear is supposed to be unfamiliar, but tonight it clung to me like a shadow. What if you turned me away? What if you had already accepted that I belonged to another world? Oh, one too cruel and proud to make space for you. Still, I couldn't stop. My pride had already been shattered the moment I walked out of that meeting. I wasn't seeking victory anymore. I was seeking peace, and I had learned that peace wears your name. When I dismounted, the world seemed to quiet. No guards, no whispers, no laws, only the sound of your footsteps inside. My throat tightened as I raised my hand to knock, but I hesitated. I'd fought in battles that didn't scare me half as much as this. Because this wasn't a fight for land or blood, it was a fight for a heart that didn't belong to my kingdom. The door creaked open before I could knock, and there you were. Eyes wide, confusion and relief mixing in that single, unbearable glance. You didn't speak at first. You didn't have to. Your silence said everything I needed to hear. I stepped closer, my voice trembling in a way it never had before. I left everything, I said. Though you already knew. You looked at me as if I was a stranger wearing the prince's face. Why? You whispered. I almost laughed, but it came out as a sigh, because nothing else feels alive anymore. You shook your head, trying to hold back the storm in your eyes. I could see your fear, not of me, but of what I'd risked. I wanted to tell you that the world outside no longer mattered, that the palace could crumble and I wouldn't care. But I didn't. Instead, I reached out, brushing my fingers against yours, and whispered, "Say something, anything." You looked at me then, and for the first time, I saw the reflection of everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained. You shouldn't have come, you murmured. I smiled faintly, stepping even closer until the space between us was nothing but breath. Maybe not, I said, but I couldn't stay away, not when every second without you felt like treason against my own soul. And in that moment, standing before you, stripped of power, stripped of reason, I realized I was no longer a prince seeking love. I was a man who had found his truth, even if it cost him his crown. The door closed behind us, and the silence that followed was heavier than any throne room I had ever stood in. The faint scent of jasmine hung in the air, and the flickering light of a single candle threw soft shadows across the room. You stood near the window, your back to me, arms folded tight, as if trying to hold yourself together. I could see the tension in the line of your shoulders, the way you trembled just slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of everything left unspoken. I wanted to reach out to bridge that distance between us, but something in me froze. It wasn't hesitation, it was reverence. You weren't a secret anymore. You were the truth I had ruined my world for. When I finally spoke, my voice didn't sound like my own. "You think I came here to ask for forgiveness?" I said quietly, but I didn't. I came because I can't breathe inside those palace walls anymore. Every word I speak there feels like a lie if it isn't about you. You turned then, slowly, your eyes shining with disbelief and pain. And what now? You asked, the tremor in your voice breaking something inside me. You've abandoned your duties, your people, your name, for what? For a feeling that the world will never allow to exist. I stepped closer, the echo of my boots soft on the wooden floor. For a feeling that already exists, I whispered, even if the world denies it. You laughed, a broken sound, sharp and desperate. You don't understand? You said, they won't just stop at you. They'll come for me. They'll make me pay for what you've done. I closed the distance between us, my hand finding yours, fingers cold and trembling. Let them, I said softly. I've already declared my rebellion the moment I loved you. Whatever punishment they bring, I'll take it. But I won't let them touch you. You pulled your hand away, shaking your head. You can't protect me from a kingdom, you said, voice breaking. You're a prince, not a god. I smiled bitterly. Then let me be neither, just a man who refuses to lose you. The candle wavered as a gust of wind slipped through the cracks of the window, and for a heartbeat, the room went dark. In that darkness, I heard your breath, shallow, uneven, filled with all the fear we both carried. I stepped forward, finding you by instinct, my hand brushing your cheek. You didn't pull away this time. The distance between us dissolved, replaced by the warmth of something fragile and forbidden. You shouldn't have to suffer for what I feel, I murmured. But if the world demands a price, let it take it from me. Not. You didn't answer, but your silence told me everything. The world outside could shatter. In that quiet moment, we were infinite. You leaned into me then, your head resting against my chest, your tears soaking through the fabric of my coat. I stood still, afraid that even breathing might break the spell. My hand found its way into your hair, fingers trembling as they traced the strands I had imagined touching 1,000 times in my solitude. I could feel your heartbeat, fast, frightened, alive. You're not supposed to be here, you whispered again, as if trying to remind yourself of the danger. I smiled faintly against your hair. I know, I said, but I've spent too long being where I was supposed to be. The night outside grew darker, and the sound of distant thunder rolled across the hills. It was as if the heavens themselves were warning us, or mourning us. You pulled away slightly, your hand brushing the side of my face. What will you do now? You asked, voice small, almost afraid of the answer. I looked at you, memorizing every line of your face, as though I was engraving it into eternity. Whatever it takes, I said simply, even if it means losing everything else. You closed your eyes at that, and I saw it. The exact moment love became both our salvation and our curse. I stayed with you until the candle died. The room fell into darkness again, but neither of us moved. The world beyond that door was waiting to tear us apart. But I didn't care. In that silence, in that fragile peace, I wasn't a prince. I wasn't a ruler or a traitor. I was just a man who had chosen love over legacy. And as the storm broke outside, I realized something I had never dared to before. Some kingdoms are not made of stone and crown, but of two hearts defying the night together. The storm outside had grown merciless, thunder shaking the sky, as if heaven itself was warning us of what was coming. Rain lashed against the windows, and each drop sounded like a clock ticking closer to our undoing. I stood near the door, my hand resting on the hilt of my sword, though I wasn't expecting to fight. Not yet. I was waiting for the inevitable sound of hooves on wet ground, for the shouts of soldiers who would call my name not with loyalty, but with orders. I had been hunted before, by enemies, by traitors, but never by my own blood, never for love. And yet, The silence between storms is always the cruelest. You watched me from the corner of the room, eyes wide, as though each second I stayed was another wound carved into the future neither of us could fix. I could see the question in your eyes. Why hadn't I left already? Why was I still standing there when the kingdom would soon turn its wrath toward this small, quiet place? I didn't have an answer that made sense. I just knew I couldn't leave yet. My heart wouldn't move. The palace could crumble behind me. My father could rage. My brother could send 1,000 men to chase me through the rain. None of it mattered as much as one last moment beside you. The kind of moment people die for. The kind of moment history forgets but hearts remember. You stepped closer, slowly, and whispered, "They'll come for you." I nodded but didn't move. "Let them," I said. "I've run from enough things in my life. I won't run from love." You took my hand then, trembling but still strong. "You think love is enough to fight them?" You asked. Your voice cracked on the last word, and it broke me. "Love is all I have left," I answered. "They can strip me of my name, my crown, my bloodline, but they can't take that from me. And if they try, they'll have to kill me first." You shook your head, tears glinting in the candlelight. "That's what I'm afraid of," you whispered. I smiled faintly. "Then fear me not as a prince," I said, "but as a man already lost to you." It was the kind of confession that demanded no forgiveness, only understanding. And you gave it, even through your tears. The sound came then, distant at first, like an echo through the rain. Horses, many of them. My heart went still. The time had run out. You looked toward the window, panic rising in your eyes. "You have to go," you said. I didn't move. "If I leave now, they'll find you anyway," I told you. "They'll search this place, tear through everything, and you'll bear the blame for hiding me." You shook your head, stepping forward, your hands gripping my coat. "Then I'll tell them you forced me. I'll lie if I must. But you have to leave before they see you here." Your voice trembled, your desperation cutting through me sharper than any sword. I caught your face between my palms and whispered, "You think I could live knowing you lied to protect me?" Lightning flashed, illuminating your tears and my decision. I turned toward the door, the rain roaring louder as I opened it. You clutched my arm, shaking your head. But I smiled, a hollow, tired smile that tasted like surrender. "I'll draw them away," I said quietly. "If I'm gone, they'll stop searching here. You'll be safe." You tried to protest, but I pressed a kiss against your forehead, the kind that feels like goodbye even when it isn't spoken. "If fate ever allows it," I whispered, "find me again, not as a prince, not as a fugitive, but as the man who was never allowed to love you properly." Then I stepped into the storm. The rain hit me like shards of glass as I mounted my horse. I could hear them now, closer, shouting my name, their torches slicing through the darkness like hungry eyes. My cloak was soaked, my hands trembling on the reins, but I didn't turn back. Behind me was warmth, light, everything I ever wanted. Ahead of me was chaos, ruin, and perhaps death, but at least it was mine to choose. The prince they had raised was gone. What remained was something raw, human, unchained. I kicked the horse forward, and we vanished into the night, swallowed by thunder and defiance. And as the forest closed around me, I looked back once, knowing you were there, standing by the window, watching the rain swallow my figure. I knew you'd cry. I knew you'd whisper my name like a prayer against the storm. And maybe that was enough, to be remembered even in silence, to be loved even when the world decided we were forbidden. For a man born to rule, I had finally learned the one truth that crowns can't teach, that sometimes the greatest victory is walking away from everything just to protect the one heart you can't bear.